Okay, now for the heavy planting. I have the ponytail and the muddy boots. Having a bit of a medieval moment around here. Hi everyone, this is part 2 of my tulip planting series. I've already planted tulips in containers. That's super easy, so check that out. Especially if you have a small garden and you're wondering how to create a lot of impact for spring in a small footprint, containers and bulb layers are your friend. I also have a flower bed, the one flower bed in the sun where I swap my interest from season to season. So of course in spring I have spring bulbs, and then from midsummer all the way to mid-November I have a gorgeous dahlia show. So planting tulips is super easy and the process is essentially the same as in containers. The only difference is that I would say you want to space your bulb further apart because, let me show you. So to understand why everyone goes on about spacing when you plant bulbs, this is what you have to understand. This is how your tulip bulb would look like when you buy it at the store, and this happens from year 2. You can see, so the main bulb then continues to grow and divides into offsets. So of course these are really small, so they're probably not going to flower, but they still will throw leaves probably, so you could see like just a little leaf point out. So of course they're sustained by roots and they'll continue growing. So this is why you want to leave, you know, at least one bulb distance, so 3 to 4 centimeters, so that there's enough space for all those little offsets essentially to grow and then to become fully formed bulbs the year after. And this is also why many people grow tulips as annuals. That is, you just put them in for the season, you pull them out and you swap every year because you need a bit of patience for those to give you another bloom show. So a couple of things to be aware of. We just already talked about the spacing distance, that's important. The planting depth is also important. Daffodils typically would want 15 centimeters and tulips is about the same, but more on the 10 centimeter side. And that's important because, of course, as your tulip will grow, some varieties grow all the way to 60 centimeters tall. And of course, it will need like a good anchoring as to not flop over. What else? In terms of design, so if you have a border that's backed up against a wall, that's my case here, I will put my tallest bulbs at the back and then graduate down towards shorter bulbs at the front. There's several things you could do. You could buy a mix pre-made and just have a gorgeous river of different colors, and typically mixes have early, mid and late bloomers, so you'll have blooms for weeks on end. Again, another plug for my bulb haul, but I always find it interesting to see what other people are planting in their garden. So if you're interested, I'll link the bulb haul. I did keep a color scheme as well, so I have pink, purples, a bit of oranges and very soft yellows and whites. Well, that's a lot of colors. I think it will look good. So I was saying there's several ways you can plant that river of different mixes, or you could color block. That is, create smaller groups of tulips. You want to put them in a triangular shape so that you'd have your first bloom and then all the river behind it. I'll show you in a minute. If you make your own mix, make sure again to prolong your bloom time by including early, mid and late varieties. You can also rely on other types of bulbs like hyacinths, crocuses, alliums to go all the way to June. The third thing to consider is how physically you're going to plant them. So you can dig trenches, so just a hole that's quite deep, and lasagne within the flower bed, so create layers. So you could put the tallest and later flowering bulbs at the bottom and then overlay as you would do in containers. You can use bulb planters, either manual ones or the ones with the, like, love how I'm miming it, the ones where you don't have to bend over. You could have like augers also, like some attachment that you put on the drill, or just use a trowel and a shovel. That's what I'm going to do, trying to dig little holes. And as per every planting project, it's always a good idea to lay everything out first and then plant it, especially with tulips, because once you plant them, they're underground and you can't see them. So we're going to do that. We're going to start by laying all the bulbs and then dig them in. I have laid out all the bulbs that I'm going to plant in my flower bed and they're labeled. My tallest at the back. Notice how I've created a bit of a drift moment, and I'm trying to keep it a triangular shape. So I think that's going to give really nice movement. Yep, the master plan. Let's see what's next. So I've just put in Orange Lion and Van Eyck towards the middle. So now I'm going to add a little bit of daffodils. So let's go for Riplet. This is actually a daffodil crop that I stored from last year. So when the foliage just started to yellow, I lifted it and put it in a crate so that the bulb could cure and get all the energy from the foliage, and they're ready to start again. I ended up having quite a bit more space and popping a little cluster of hyacinths here and then on that side as well. And over here, this is the rose that I moved that was on the other corner of the flower bed. I know it's going to grow and I don't want it to prevent the tulips from growing. So if I have still a little bit of a gap here, I'll pop some annuals in the spring or even some spring crops. Sometimes I like planting salads or things like that because they're quite short-lived crops. Here at the back we have Dick Wilden and Sir Winston Churchill, a mix. Over here, Riplet. Then we have a mix of Orange Lion and Van Eyck. Elegant Lady over there, then Claudia, then we have Narcissus Cheerfulness. Then in the middle we have a little drift of Cinarea Amor. And then at the front, Parrot Prince and Purple Prince. And then here, I think Miss Elegance. That's going to be, I think, a glorious show. All the colors go well together and will complement each other, but we have really those groupings of one type of bulb. So we're going to get a striking look. So you can see here the spacing. Well, it's not perfectly symmetrical, but it's about one bulb width. I'm going to pop a pinch of bulb starter at the bottom of each hole. Of course, I need my trowel. So step 1, dig a hole 10 to 15 centimeters deep. Grab a small handful of bulb starter, place it at the bottom of the hole. You can also pop a bit of compost. Take your bulb, pointy side up, pop it in the hole, and then backfill. You can use a bit of extra compost. Planted. And now we'll repeat the process. your bulbs show signs of rot like this, just do a firmness test. So this one is still very firm to the touch, so there's no problem for planting this, it will still flower. Look at my hands. Okay, let's turn the lack of light into a romantic evening. Bulb planting. Oh, well, that's not that's not a good start. Having a bit of a medieval moment around here. So it's another day. Yesterday I finished in the dark, as you've seen. I still add to mulch the bed. It's an important step because it gives you, of course, an extra layer of protection against any deep freezes. And this is why also your bulbs need to be planted deep enough. In case of a hard ground freeze, of course, the first few centimeters of soil would freeze and then it would damage your bulbs. So I'm just going to apply this coarse mulch. It's bark, and the fact that it's so huge like this, like the big pieces will last throughout the season, so for an entire year almost, and that's really good. You could also use old compost. Here we go. I still need a little bit more here and top up a couple of patchy areas. Actually use it also on top of my pots throughout the season. You can see here for my roses, for other containers with daffodils. Just thinks it gives a nice finished look to everything. I think I'll do one more bag though, because you have noticed the layer is quite thin and I really want to protect my bulbs. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful, and I also have one more video in this series to plant in grass. I'm really excited about that. I'll see you next time. Bye! That grass was once beautiful, but this is what happens when you need to access your flower beds. Grass suffers. Look at that! The elevores are arriving. Of course, we have a little inspector. Is this to your liking?